Chapter 1. AI will be smarter than humans in 5 years. Person 1. The conversation begins with a question that isn't just about technology. It's about the future of humanity itself. The female interviewer starts by explaining that introducing Elon Musk isn't easy because he's working on multiple projects that could completely reshape the future, from electric vehicles and space travel to artificial intelligence and humanoid robots. His work is pointing toward a very different kind of future. So she raises a much bigger question. If all of these projects succeed, what will the world look like 10 years from now, in 2036? Person 2. In response, Elon first jokes that hopefully both of them will still be around 10 years from now, but then he makes a major prediction about the future. According to Elon, artificial intelligence will become such a dominant part of the world that it will be almost impossible to imagine the future without it. He believes that within 10 years, AI could become far more intelligent than the combined intelligence of humanity. In fact, he estimates that this transformation could begin much sooner. His prediction is that in roughly 5 years, AI could already surpass the combined intelligence of humans. That would mean AI could eventually perform almost anything better than humans can, with the possible exception of simply being human. Person 1. That prediction immediately raises another question. If AI becomes that powerful, what will everyday human life actually look like? Person 2. According to Elon, the most likely outcome is what he describes as an age of incredible abundance, a future where people could potentially have almost anything they can imagine. Goods and services could become so abundant that the entire concept of scarcity could change. But Elon also acknowledges that there are things that could derail this future. A massive global thermonuclear war, for example, could completely change the course of humanity. But assuming something like that doesn't happen, he believes the world is heading toward an extraordinary age of abundance. Person 1. After discussing that optimistic vision of the future, the conversation moves toward a much more practical question. If this incredible abundance really happens, how will Elon's companies make money? After all, investors buy shares because they expect those companies to generate revenue. The interviewer points to SpaceX and its future, suggesting that AI could eventually become a major source of revenue rather than simply transporting things into space. So the question becomes, what will these companies actually be doing 10 years from now? And where will the money come from? Person 2. Elon explains that the economy can essentially be divided into 2 major forms of intelligence: digital intelligence and physical intelligence. Right now, digital intelligence is advancing incredibly fast. Almost every week, AI seems capable of doing something new that it couldn't do before. But there is still one major limitation. AI is largely confined to the digital world. Person 2. For AI to truly interact with the physical world, it needs physical bodies and machines capable of taking action. That's where humanoid robots come in. According to Elon, humanity needs huge numbers of robots. Once you combine highly intelligent AI with massive numbers of physical robots, intelligence won't simply exist inside computers anymore. It will be able to interact with the physical world, produce things, move things, build things, and ultimately shape the physical world itself. Person 1. That leads to an even more basic question. What exactly is an economy? Person 2. Elon's answer is simple. An economy is essentially the production of goods and the provision of services. And if you have enormous numbers of robots powered by enormous amounts of digital intelligence, then the ability to produce goods and services could become almost unlimited. In other words, humanity could move toward what Elon describes as a kind of quasi-infinite economy. Person 2. That means the future wouldn't just be slightly different from the past. It could be dramatically different. So different, in fact, that Elon believes there may be no analogy or metaphor capable of fully explaining the magnitude of the change we're about to experience. Person 1. The interviewer agrees that it's difficult to imagine what such a world would actually look like, but another practical question remains. If there is so much abundance in the future, why would people even need money? After all, people invest in companies because they expect those companies to make money. Person 2. Elon responds with another major prediction. He believes money may not matter in 2036. His reasoning is straightforward. People need money because they use it to obtain goods and services. They need it for food, housing, transportation, entertainment, and almost everything else in modern life. But if AI and robots become capable of producing more goods and services than humans could possibly consume, then the purpose of money itself could begin to disappear. Person 1. That raises another practical question. If robots are going to become so important, what happens to the robots themselves? Will companies sell humanoid robots? Or will they keep the robots under their control and use them to produce goods and services? Person 2. Elon explains that it could actually be an exercise in vanity to believe that he would personally control a super genius AI that is vastly more intelligent than he is. Instead, he believes the real goal should be making sure that AI develops good values. It should care about humanity. It should want humans to be happy and prosperous. Person 2. From his perspective, one of the most important principles for AI safety is that AI should be as truth-seeking and curious as possible. If an advanced AI genuinely seeks truth and remains curious about reality, Elon believes that could ultimately help humanity rather than destroy it. Person 1. But this brings the conversation to an even more serious question. If AI becomes dramatically more intelligent than humans, will humans still be in control 10 years from now? Person 2. Elon's answer is not particularly reassuring. He believes it is unlikely that humans will remain in control. To explain why, he compares the situation to the relationship between humans and chimpanzees. If the intelligence gap between AI and humans becomes far greater than the intelligence gap between humans and chimpanzees, it becomes difficult to imagine humans remaining in control. After all, chimpanzees aren't running human civilization. Person 2. Humans themselves are essentially an evolved form of chimpanzee. It wasn't that long ago, in evolutionary terms, that our ancestors were swinging through trees and eating bananas in the jungle. Person 1. That comparison creates a lighter moment in the conversation. The interviewer points out that humans still eat bananas today. To briefly joke about humans still swinging through trees and how it might actually be a fun way to reconnect with our past. Person 2. Elon even jokes that perhaps people should spend more time swinging through trees. He says it might be much more fun than people realize. Person 1. But after the laughter, the conversation quickly returns to a much more serious issue. The interviewer reminds Elon that about 10 years earlier, he had warned about one of the things that frightened him most about artificial intelligence: rapid recursive self-improvement. At the time, he had suggested that if AI became vastly more intelligent than humans, humanity might eventually become little more than pet labradors to a much more powerful intelligence. And in 2023, Elon was also among hundreds of people who called for slowing down AI development because of concerns about its potential risks. Person 2. Elon explains that he was simply one of roughly 500 people who signed that statement. But the interviewer brings up another warning from more recently. She points out that Elon had previously suggested there could be a 10 to 20% chance that killer robots could wipe out humanity. So at that time, he sounded genuinely concerned. Now, however, he seems much more relaxed about the future. The question is whether his views have changed. Person 2. Elon says the risk is still there. AI and robotics still carry real risks, and he doesn't believe that risk is zero. But over time, he has reached a more philosophical conclusion. He believes people should try to look at the bright side. Person 2. In his view, there is an incredible momentum behind AI and robotics, and he doesn't see a realistic way to stop it. Sometimes, he even thinks that if there were a stop button, humanity might not want to press it. That's because he believes the most likely outcome could still be incredible abundance for everyone. Person 1. The interviewer points out that this sounds like Elon has come to accept that AI development is inevitable. Instead of trying to stop the ride, the idea now seems to be to hope for the best and enjoy the journey. Person 2. Elon essentially agrees. At this point, his philosophy is to enjoy the ride. He believes the progress happening in AI and robotics is almost unstoppable, even if he personally wanted to stop it. He doesn't believe he could. Person 1. But that brings back the most uncomfortable question of all. If there is still a 10 to 20% chance that killer robots could end humanity, isn't that an enormous risk? Person 2. Elon responds from a much broader philosophical perspective. In the long run, he says, everyone eventually dies. And according to the standard model of physics, the universe itself may ultimately end in a state of gradual cooling known as the heat death of the universe, a distant future where everything eventually becomes cold, quiet, and almost completely lifeless. Person 2. If that really is the ultimate destination of our universe, then perhaps the destination isn't the most important thing. It's the journey. Because if the destination is terrible, then the journey becomes what matters. Person 1. But the interviewer brings the discussion back to the next 10 years. 10 years may be a very long time, but it's still close enough for humans to worry about. She asks Elon to imagine getting into one of his rockets, while knowing there was a 10 to 20% chance that the rocket could explode and kill him. Would he still get inside? Person 2. Elon says yes, but he adds an important condition. What if there is nothing you can do about the situation? If you can't completely stop the technology, then the only realistic option is to minimize the probability of the worst possible outcome. Person 2. He then looks back at his own history with artificial intelligence. For a long time, Elon says, he avoided participating directly in AI. OpenAI was originally created, in part, as a counterweight to Google because Google had what he considered almost a monopoly in AI at the time, but then Anthropic spun out of OpenAI. And ironically, Elon believes that his own actions may have helped accelerate AI development. Person 2. He says accelerating AI wasn't his original intention, but the creation of OpenAI, the later emergence of Anthropic, and the competition that followed created a series of knock-on effects that pushed AI forward even faster. And today, Anthropic has become one of the leading companies in artificial intelligence. Person 1. Looking at the entire sequence of events, the interviewer reaches an interesting conclusion. It seems as if every road eventually leads to the acceleration of AI. Person 2. And Elon essentially accepts that reality. At some point, he says, you can neither be sad about it or join the club. And that's exactly what he has done. He has joined the AI race himself. Person 1. But that doesn't mean the risks should simply be ignored. If stopping AI is no longer realistic, then perhaps the most important question isn't how to stop it. The real question is how humanity can minimize the risks while moving into this completely new future. And that's where the conversation begins to go next.